My name is Todd Trauman. I'm the CEO of Emission Control. My overall take on the show this year was that the level of excitement and the volume of people and OEMs and new technologies being deployed this year, certainly, especially over last year, but of course, over the year before, was just astounding. The interest in electrification and zero-emission hydrogen technologies has grown so exponentially that it's nice to see that reflected in a public-facing trade show. I think they're talking about expanding the show by double this time next year and moving venues just to accommodate that. So I can't wait for 2023 and the ACT show to see what other kind of new technologies, new OEMs, and new just volumes of people looking to electrify are going to show up. Being at ACT is extremely important for any OEM, any vendor, any consultant participating in the clean transportation space. It's probably the most important for people considering battery electric technologies or deploying battery electric technologies. I can't think of another show out there that has this quality and quantity of stuff to showcase. So being there, understanding the just general state of affairs of a lot of these new technologies, seeing all of the new OEMs boothing or even just walking the trade floor, getting a sense for the types of fleets and the volume of fleets out there shopping around and even sometimes purchasing large volumes of battery electric equipment on site, getting an understanding of just the advancement of software deployment on site is a good thing. The amount of software technologies coming into the space as it relates to electricity management or fleet management or any sort of other analytics on these types of pieces of equipment is also growing exponentially. As a technology provider in the space, you have to be at the show. It's where things are deployed or showcased or announced, and being there, understanding how it works, understanding what it costs and where it can be deployed. Those are all insanely important things to have in an industry that moves as quickly as this one does. So EMC's there representing not just our company, but they're learning. We're there to bring back knowledge about equipment and technologies and software and costs and reliability and everything else with a neutral focus to our existing clients. They need to know that, and if they can't be there representing themselves, we want to be there representing them so that we can help them in their own electrification and transportation goals and initiatives and decision making. When we think about the EMC OEM network, we see procurement managers, we see fleet managers, fleet operators and owners. Whether or not they've deployed clean energy transportation technologies, we see them being able to connect with ones that have or cross notes with ones that are also considering it to really help gauge where they are, what those costs are, what other myriad of implications come into play when they're thinking about electrifying their facilities. There's a lot of people that have very, very good experience in here, and getting that experience and understanding from someone using the equipment that isn't a vendor or isn't trying to sell you a piece of technology is a very valuable perspective. Though I think right now, a lot of times those people are having trouble finding each other. There's not really a good network of facility operators to find each other and discuss products and discuss what works or doesn't work for their particular solution. And we want to facilitate that. And really, the same can be said on the OEM side. It's not that the OEMs need to necessarily chat with each other, but being able to connect the right OEMs and the right technologies and the ones that are purpose-built for the right kinds of applications, to connect them with those fleet operators and fleet owners to help them make the right kinds of choices for their own future. As is the case with any emerging field or emerging technology, there's going to be some bumps in the road, and I think it's our job at EMC to really help steer our clients and our fleet operators that we work with every day around those bumps if we can, if there is a road there to be driven. So I think the network that we're creating within the OEMs and within the fleet operators, and ultimately how we can connect those two networks together to advance the state of affairs, largely leaning into the LCFS program or CFP program for collateral, if that's for your own total operating costs or to help bring maybe some of that funding forward, is a really great place to be. It's an extremely valuable asset to have and a valuable network to create. So when we think about the OEM network or the facility operator network, that's really the end goal, is to bring this to share information, share communication from a variety of trusted partners from each other. For years, competition in the EV space was quite limited. There were a handful of OEMs developing products that were funded maybe by grants or some R&D work, and things were slow to pick up on the quantity of not just OEMs, but quantity of products outside of the OEMs. And I think at ACT this year, we're starting to see a little bit of a paradigm shift there, where OEMs aren't maybe just offering a single type of technology or a single vehicle within a single class, but maybe a myriad or certainly multiple versions of a single vehicle inside a single class. And that's a lot different. There's, you now can go to and shop for 5, 6 different types of OEM selling Class 8 vehicles, and they're all more or less commercially available. Same with yard trucks. There are competing OEMs now in the landscape of yard trucks that just wasn't there before. And when you have that level of competition, just like you do in anything else, people want to make the best product and invest in R&D and invest in manufacturing technologies and do whatever it takes to make sure they're the ones that are able to see their product out in the field. That also includes on the software side, really amping up the software offerings on fleet analytics and management and telematics and access and cloud-based types of solutions developed inside and outside of the OEMs is a huge part of the discussion. People aren't just looking for effective deployments, but effective deployments as data goes. They want access to the energy consumption information. It might be rate-based now. There's a whole myriad of reasons they want access to really good quality hardware and really good quality software. And we're seeing a lot of competition in that space now, which is fantastic. A lot of the fleets that were there considering deployments at large volume. They're there not because they got a few bucks from the state to help buy down the capital costs, but are seeing an actual financial benefit, and so are considering this for maybe an international or a national deployment if they have facilities outside of California, where they're buying 10, 15, 25 of these at once for a deployment across 4, 5, 6, 7 facilities. The competition in the space has grown a lot. It's changed a lot, just even in the last 12 months. I think it was a lot more than even I expected to see in that space. And so including with EMC being one of them, but making sure that these OEM and vehicle repositories are made available, kind of like the OEM network that EMC is putting together, is really important. We need all of these types of technologies, all of the different versions of any particular vehicle or piece of equipment made available to fleets to choose from. And understand the consequence of deploying. And so places like ACT, developing systems like EMC's OEM repository, the kind of networks that we're talking about are really important to continue building on.